Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Untitled. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate you. I'm coming back to bring you another video on Cracked Wide Open as an update. I promised you guys I would do an update as things are occurring and as progress is being made. So here I am, darling. Namaste to everybody. Give me a moment. I'd like to call consciousness in if you'll allow me, please. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. How are you? I hope you all are doing well. Thank you so much for stopping by, Fam Bam. I would just like to get some of the house cleaning out of the way. When I talk about these types of videos under Cracked Wide Open, if you share content under my channel under a different platform, please save those comments for that content and those lives and respect the content that I'm providing on each live, if you would. I really would appreciate that. I want to come back and give you a little bit of an update about my spiritual awakening. Those of you who know me and have been following me for some time know that I had a spiritual awakening March 28th, 2019. Tomorrow will be, what's today, the 21st? So it's been 2 years and 10 months and 1 day. So next year on the 28th will be the 3rd year, and there's a lot of questions I'm getting through emails, and so I want to address them. And as I've promised, I want to bring you in with me through the process in case you're going through this experience yourself. The experience itself is called an awakening, but it's actually a transcendence. It's a transcendence between subject and object split, and that's another video that I'll do later. There's also things that occur during the awakening that you get gifts that are satori's that are given to you, and so downloads of information are given to you, and gifts of healing and other such gifts are given to you because you answered the call to become a teacher. And so that brought me to this video and this update, because I'm getting a lot of questions of who's a student, who's a teacher, who's a student or a teacher of consciousness or God or source or whatever it is that you use and identify it with, right? Whatever it means to you. If it's a doorknob to you, it's a doorknob to you. But it's all consciousness, right? Even in physics, the doorknob is only 99% empty space, and the rest is actually the form. So that only leaves like 5%. So even mass is not mass. So our body is mass, we think, but it's not. So the shift in consciousness that I'm talking about is I'm going to describe it in the only way I know how to describe it, because this is my experience. The only person I can find remotely close to the pretty identical experience as I had and as dramatic as I had was Eckhart Tolle. Most everybody, it's a general process that happens, and that's generally how it's supposed to go, similar to what Michael Sanger had when he was sitting in his living room and it just randomly happened to him without no problem, right? So you go through phases during this shift. And there's a reason you go through phases when you have this awakening, because prior to having the awakening, I'm going to put it as simple as I can, because the first question I got was, who's the student, who's the teacher? Certain pupils have been assigned to spiritual teachers, let's say, and to each consciousness or source or God that you think it is. And the students will look for the teacher once the teacher accepts the call. So the student is whoever is ready to accept the call that the teacher is ready to give, right? And when the teacher begins to teach, the students just show up. So the ones that are ready and prepared to take the information, they will, because the teacher will teach on an understanding level that they will understand. And in the past, in Buddhism and in Tibet and in Sanskrit and those types of things, and even in the Bible, the these and the thous and the those and the those types of things confused a lot of people. And we grew up with a lot of ideologies that are pseudo, that are not true, that are false. There are a lot of powerful ancient mysticism and mythology that is so relevant to having a spiritual awakening, and it's vast upon the universe, and every single person on the universe is a pupil and the student of God, whether they call and take the call or don't take the call. It's universal and it goes out universal, but very few will take the call. Why? I don't know. I don't know. But that's the truth. So the students will look for the teacher as soon as the teacher answers the call. Okay. As soon as the teacher answers the call, the student becomes the teacher because the student learned something, right? And then they're going to go teach someone else. So someone has gone before me and someone's going to go after me. So if I can ease the way in any way, I'm going to, because that's what I'm supposed to be doing. The term universal teaching, I think is I don't know, it's a personal trait that everybody has, because consciousness does not have any jurisdiction over color, creed, status, money, wealth, religion, poverty, homeless, or crime, or anything else you can name. It's universal. That's why when we speak of people that are in a 10 by 10 cell and they're committed for murder and they're sitting on death row, they're in a 10 by 10 cell, yet they're awakened. They're awakened because now they become a student of Christ, of consciousness, right? And they teach the inmates on death row. That's an ashram. That should be an ashram. Don't they need a teacher there? Those people are getting ready to pass on in this form, and they need to find consciousness before they do, because the ultimate call is inevitable, and we all will succumb to the call of consciousness in the end. So why not succumb to it prior to leaving this form? And come and join me. This, remember I told you, on the cross is this world. Consciousness gave us this world to enjoy and to walk a middle road. The straight up and down on the cross is Christ, Christ consciousness. Come to me, my child, and the kingdom of heaven is yours. You live in the kingdom of heaven. Okay. When you have a spiritual awakening, you're not going to know any of this stuff. It's going to blow you out of the water. You're going to be just like me. You're going to spin out of control and you're going to go through phases. But I'm here to help you get through those. And so I'm going to share a few of them with you. You know, the why of why I'm doing it's not important. And the story of how I got here is not important. It's irrelevant. It's did I answer the call? And yes, I have. So there's a few reasons that I want to share the content, because when I was looking, there wasn't anybody that I could go to source that could give me any content that was irrelevant to what I was experiencing at the time I was experiencing it. They were giving me information after the fact, or what are methods I could do to get up to an awakening. Well, I was already awakened, and yet I was in one of the phases and could not understand one of the phases. So I'm going to explain a little bit of what happened so you can understand. I listened to someone's story that was very similar to this, and I listened to it because I had never heard it before, and it was just coincidental that it came across my YouTube platform for some reason. And there's a lot of similarities in it. And that person is Eckhart Tolle again. And so he speaks about his, and so I'll leave a link down below in the interview where he speaks with Tammy someone. I'll find it and I'll leave a link after this video for you, and you can listen to that. What happened in my experience, and it wasn't even an experience because I can't call it an experience because that's another video. Anyway, my world around me was crumbling, crumbling without reason. No cause, no reason, no explanation, no communication as to why, no vision of anyone seeing but me what was occurring. And it was like a tornado coming into your life and ripping through your life, and you don't know what's caused the tornado to come into your house and break all your windows and destroy your home, right? And so for months, I had tried to figure out what was destroying my home, my marriage, my whole situation. And to no avail, I could not come up with a reason that I could explain. So I, on the 27th of March, on 2019, I was outside for a very small amount of time on my patio because my home had just had the sale sign put in it or something. I was thinking about it. It must have been a dream because I visualized it and it hadn't, my awakening hadn't even happened yet. Right. So it was weird. And I was sitting meditating with headphones in my head and in my ears. And something said, look up. And it was during the spring equinox. And I saw the axis of the sun and the earth shift to the spring equinox. And it was when it went vertical to horizontal. And that's why the download for the cross came to me. And Spirit downloaded that information, apparently ignited something on the DNA chain and gave me that satori of psychic ability to see between the unseen and the seen. And so I'm able to travel between the gap. But that's a gift, that's another video. So when I woke, when I went to bed really that day on the 27th, I just felt exhausted. I was blinded by the light from the sun, and I remembered seeing dots for the rest of the day, and I was feeling exhausted, and I thought I'm just going to go lay down and go to bed because I'm really emotionally spent. I can't take any more. And I went into my room and I laid down, and I'm sorry if my voice changes because it's emotional. It's painful and it's been difficult. And I pulled the covers over my head. I can't tell you if I changed into pajamas or laid down in my clothes. I can't tell you if I took my makeup off or any of that. All I know is I was laying in my bed and I woke up the next morning and it was morning. And I had the best night's sleep I'd ever had. And I remember saying that to myself the second I woke up. And the second I woke up, I looked around, I opened my eyes and I'm looking around, and the colors in the room were as if I was seeing color for the first time, like I'd never seen color in my entire life. And I could smell coffee so profoundly that I was salivating from the smell, the aroma of the coffee brewing, right? And I'm like, what the and so I swing my legs over the side of my bed and my feet hit the floor. I don't think I had any thought in my head or anything I can recall. I got up, I walked to the bathroom, I sat down, I peed, I stood up, and I have a mirror that goes from that side to this side of my bathroom. And I look at myself in the mirror, and there is like a hole in the roof in my house that's beaming down on me, and it's a light shining down on me with an aura all around me. And I'm like, "What's happening to me?" Right? And so I immediately ran out of my bedroom, unlocked my door, and ran to the kitchen where my spouse of 27, 28, yeah, I can't even fucking remember how many years we were married by then. Almost 28 probably. Yeah, almost 28 because it's coming up on it would have been somewhere around 30 because it's almost 3 years now. I said to him, "I don't know what you did to me last night, but I feel like you came into my room and hit me in the head with a baseball bat and stole my soul. I don't know who I am." And I meant it. I meant it with every fucking ounce of my being, and I don't recall him saying anything. I don't recall him saying anything, and if he did, I don't recall it, right? And so I remember being in about 6 months of utter bliss, just rocking back and forth. I didn't have a care in the world. My whole house could have burnt down and I wouldn't have cared. And what was weird was there wasn't the voice talking to me anymore in my head. Nothing. Nothing. It was this space, right? Space, empty space. And I said, "Oh, something's wrong with me." And that's when I began to spin out of control. And I took myself to ER and to the psych and to the counselor and to the priest and to the every avenue I could take myself to. And no one, hey Panda, no one could help me. Till I walked into an emergency room and I made a neurosurgeon take a picture of my brain. And it just so happened by coincidence, no, idiosyncrasy, he knew what an awakening was. And when he brought my brain scan back to me, after they calmed me down and said, "You're not insane, you're not psychotic, you're not cracked, you're not under any psychosis, you're not drugged, nothing's wrong with you, right? You're perfectly sane. You've had an awakening." And that's the first time I heard the word. So this is part of the reason I'm doing the videos, because if I worked in the trauma bay for as long as I did in the medical field, which I got my license in 1986, so you do the math. I've seen a lot of things, probably way too many things I shouldn't have seen, but not one person did I ever see cross my trauma bay or tell me about a spiritual awakening, that it was universal and that it happens to everybody. The first person who told me that was a neurosurgeon that was in the emergency room looking at a trauma nurse, telling her she's asymptomatic and she's had a spiritual awakening and functioning on a brain that looks like a Christmas tree lit up. I don't know what he's talking about, except that maybe I can feel all the goodness, all the unconditional love, peace, and joy. And there's no more any mental commentary going on in my head, right? So now my brain is maybe, I don't know, recouping. I don't know at this time, right? So I'm sufficed for the day and I go home and I'm good and things begin to spin out of control. And spirit starts to show me things in spiritual symbolism. Spirit, God, divine, source, whatever it is that you call it, religion is an ideology that we're taught. Even the word God has a meaning to it. Look up the word God. It's guided, obsessed delivery, mental obsessed delivery, right? And we're trained those ideologies and we learn them when we're young. And so some of the questions I'm getting are about that, and they're surrounding the medical field that I participated in, and the medical body, because I know it. So there starts the next phase. Now I'm still feeling spirit in the background, like almost as if I'm behind a screen. I think on the last Correct Like Open, I talked about looking through a screen, right? It's like it's in the background and it's always there. It's always there, and it's in each and every one of you. And those that don't know it, now you know it. It's there in you. You just don't know it's there. You're unconscious to it because the veil is up. That's all. That's all it means. And so, as a spiritual teacher, I am here to remind you that you can bring the veil down, and so these are why I'm sharing it as I go along, right? And as I'm going through it, because I want you to see the validity of my I don't have a thought in my head. I don't have a thought in my head. I don't have a preconceived idea. I don't have a notion. I don't. I'm not more than anybody. I'm not less. I don't think anything. I'm just universal, right? I'm just universal, right? I'm non-judgmental. I see the light of Christ consciousness in everyone that comes across my path, and I ask how I can be of service to that person. That's what I do. So this is how I'm being of service to you that can't reach me in the personal level, on a personal level for a Reiki practitioner session or you can always email me or look out on my emails and find me, right? Teaching is again, the first question I got was who is the student and who is the teacher? Remember, the teacher is whoever answers the call. So me, myself personally, I've answered the call, and my call is I'm going to teach salvation because there is nothing else. And the only thing that lies in salvation is Christ consciousness and love. And that's what everybody is seeking in people, places, and things. They just don't know it because the veil is up and they are unconscious. They are slumbering. And that is no fault of their own, right? Atonement corrects illusion. I had a question that said, does God atone you? God's the word God, that's the second question I'm reading. God is an acronym. It's an acronym. Um, when I went to nursing school, they taught us acronyms, word roots, and root suffixes. And the reason they taught them to us was to teach us how to break down the word root of very large medical terminology words, right? Like ectomy, otomy, or, because one would mean incision into or removal of. So the only way we could remember them all, because there were so enormous amounts of them, was to break them down that way. And so we were taught the same thing about the word God. God is an etiology. If you look up the Sanskrit word of what God means, it won't even mean the same thing you think it means. God is a concept and an etiology. And it's necessary that you grasp a few of those things and then you grasp the concept of time because time is an illusion as well. And so another question I had here was, does God forgive you for your sins? Yes, and ultimately there is no sin. The only sin is to deceive oneself. To deceive oneself is to sin. And so if you believe what you've been taught and you don't investigate it and you believe it to be true and it's not a fact, then you're deceiving yourself. So you're sinning, you're missing the mark. So that concept is very necessary. Atonement really corrects the illusion, right? And the illusion lies in our mind. The illusion lies in our mind. And the reason it lies in our mind is because I'm going to go a little bit into the medical here. And I'm going to put it as simple as I can for any patient that ever crossed my bay. When your mom had you and birthed you, she housed you for 9.5 to 10 months in her belly. She was attached to you by an umbilical cord that fed you, gave you blood, gave you warmth, gave you love, gave you comfort, gave you assurance, gave you all the things that you needed to grow and thrive, correct? And the minute that you were popped out into this world through your mom's vehicle, because that's what your mom was, a vehicle, and you came into this world and your mother was the vehicle. The nurses took the baby, cut the cord, stuck some goop in their eyes, shot them with 3 needles, and wrapped them in a bassinet as they were screaming their head off and put them under a very bright light. Now, right now, they have a fragmentation going on in the mental mind of subject object, right? They're thinking, I've been with my mother for 10 months. She's always been there for me. She's never left me. I've heard her heart rate. I hear her laugh. I feel her love. I feel her compassion and warmth. And now all of a sudden she's gone. So the baby has to fragment. And fragmentation is part of the coping mechanism we call survival. Um, you might know gentlemen in the service who have PTSD, and they can tell you about fragmentation really well. They had to fragment themselves to survive out there in the trenches. And so that baby had to survive. It was born with the five senses. Okay. So there's the very first introduction to fragmentation to a sentinel being. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And then between the ages of 5 and 12 months of that baby's life, that baby realizes I am now separate from mom. Now I am separate from mom. She and I are separate. That causes a separation. Mom and babe are not separate. God does not confuse himself in his son. Right? The baby has fragmented at that fragmentation stage out of coping mechanism by no fault of that babe's own, right? It had to survive. And so if I can teach kids between the age of 12 and 18 this, those will be the kids that are running our universe, and should not conscious children that grow to be adults be running the universe instead of narcissistic, power hungry, greedy individuals. And because our planet's being destroyed on power, money, and greed, all you have to do is go look at social media to see the narcissism that's attacking the collective on a phenomenal level. So, yes, God does atone you for his sins, for your sins, right? I want to give you a statement that kind of helped me before I go on, is that the moment you make a choice, the decision is already made for you. And what I mean by that is that in retrospect, if I make a choice that someone I know that is close to me doesn't know about, and I think I'm fooling them, I made that choice to do that and to fool them, right? So I made their decision for me as well when they find out about it, the minute I made that choice. So I was deceiving myself, and therefore I was sinning and missing the mark and creating karma and pain and samsara for another individual. And that's deceit. That's a sin. Deceit is, people say, is deceit just a lie? Deceit is a lie. It's one of the same. So the atonement is what's going to correct you of the illusion, okay? And it's going to correct you of the illusion of what you're going to ask me, of the mind. That you are not your thoughts, that you are not this physical form, that you are not your emotions, that you're not even the things you do. Those are experiences you're having based on habitual mind split between object and subject during a fragmentation that occurred in your life based on your upbringing and your limited belief, and your thought patterns will be different than mine. That's why spirituality is universal, and it doesn't have any color, any creed, any status, any religion, any wealth, any nothing. It can happen to anyone everywhere. It's universal, but many won't accept the call. And I know this because I searched high and low, and I continue to search, and I have not met one sentinel being that is awakened on the level I am, other than Deepak Chopra, which I've not personally met, Eckhart Tolle, which I've not personally met, Gabrielle Bernstein, which I've not personally met, Michael Sanger, which I've not personally met, Marashi, which I've not personally met, Buddha, I haven't met any of them. Okay. I'm I'm prior to my shift, my status had no, I didn't know my status was any status at really. I lived a moderate lifestyle, but I was in the illusion of the veil too, and I was slumbering, and I was causing some samsara for myself. And when you awaken, you realize that, and that you realize you're the stirrer of the pot. You're the digger of the hole, and you created the whole master plan. And that leads to, some other questions on manifestation, which I'll get to in some other videos, but I want to lead on to this one. So today I want to talk about sickness. It's good to see you all. Thank you so much for being here. Sickness. I think really for you to understand healing, because I'm a healer. That was one of the satori's that were given to me, is to be place hands on an individual and provide healing through me to them. I'm not doing that. I'm only the vehicle. I'm only administering the healing to the patient, to the client, or to the individual. The healing comes from Christ. The content of Christ consciousness never changes. The curriculum will, based on the student's understanding, and the teacher will teach on the level of the student's understanding. So if we were back 50, 60 years ago, we may be looking at Tibetan and Buddhism, and those are very good references to go to because there are so many things that are so valid in those. Like Maharaji, who just passed away, bless his soul, in 2008, he didn't go anywhere. One of his disciples asked him, "We're going to be so sad when you leave." And he said, "Well, why are you going to be sad? Where am I going?" Because the first thing you'll realize when you awaken is that you're not going anywhere. This form, this form is going to wear out just like a car, a bike, a shoe, a pair of jeans, a pair of dentures, a fucking earring, a ring, a wallet, a belt. There's a state of impermanence in the universe. Just look around us. So the healing involves understanding of what the illusion is. And the illusion is the sickness that we have, that we are born into this world with. It's a habitual mind pattern that is no fault of our own, and it comes from the collective that we were born into. And healing is impossible without doing this. If you can't recognize that you are not the thoughts and voices in your head, or even the emotions or the body you're housing, you're still living in an illusion, and that is deceit, and you're missing the mark. Therefore, your conscious mind is shut off. This is kind of like, how can I put that, spirit? Okay. Say the right hemisphere of your brain over here is freeway lane. That's what she showed me. And then this side's freeway lane. Okay. And these freeways, these people are just whizzing by you. You can't call in the infrastructure if that person cuts in front of you, and they're not going to use their blinker. They're not going to warn you they're coming in. They're not going to honk their horn at you, and they can't stop the process. It's just going to happen because you're slumbering. And that's how subtle consciousness is. Okay. That's how subtle consciousness is. If you're not still enough in the mind and to create the gap, because the gap is simply this: unconscious, conscious, and between the two, there's this gap. And if you can find that gap and you can sit in that gap, you've created an opening. And the healing has already been given to you because you made a choice to heal. I'm not providing the healing. I'm only offering forgiveness up to Christ's Son in His name for the client in my head, and using my Reiki practicing skills and the gift that's been so graciously given to me. I cannot receive if I do not give away. You cannot give if you have not received, and vice versa. It's a conundrum. Everything in the universe is reversed. So healing really involves understanding and realizing you're not the illusion in the mind. Because the illusion in the mind and those habitual mind patterns create a voice, and that's a little box that you've carved out for yourself. That's an egoic box, and it's going to repeat itself on autoplay to you. And it's going to switch sides and climb up your butt and over your head in any way it can to feed off your emotional pain body or your psychological body, because it's hungry for more pain. It's like I keep talking about it. It's like a kaleidoscope. If you look into a thing that looks like a kaleidoscope, you'll see that there are circles going in multiple different directions. That's the grid we live on. And in order for you to effectively take sensory input into your body, you have to have all of those sensory inputs open. And so I didn't have those open, and 90% to 99.99999 of the people that I've met are slumbering and don't have theirs open. So mine are open now. And so the moment I awoken, I must have made a choice to awaken at that time prior to my knowledge. And now it's my knowledge. So healing is hi everybody. Healing is accomplished. It's just like I said, the instant that you no longer see any value in that pain, it's done. It's like the only thing I can relate it to is I went to some Alcoholic Anonymous meetings and some NA meetings, and I was in CODA, and they had this. I don't know if it's principles or they have two different lists. One's principles and one's called something else. 12 rules. I don't know what you'll have to Google it, but it reminds me of that, right? It's like they had a saying in that room that was very prevalent the day I went, and someone said, "I just got so sick and tired of being sick and tired that I was sick of being fucking tired." That's reaching a point that pain has no purpose for you anymore. You're sick and tired of the pain. It has no outcome for you. It's not effective. 12 steps, is that what it's called? Okay. Okay, so what step is it, Amy? And the first one they said was, you came to believe there was a power greater than yourself that could restore you to sanity. Did I get that right? Did I get that right? I think I got that right. Shit. Spirit's on point. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, spirit is, consciousness is that person to restore you to sanity. So, the next phase, so that was the second question. Now I'm going to go to the second phase. The second phase was I began to spin out of control in what Deepak Chopra refers to as the dark conscious night. Excuse me. I don't think I heard Eckhart speak of it. I don't think Michael Sanger had one. I don't know anyone that I can refer to that's had a dark night of the soul. I can only tell you what it feels like to me and what it meant to me. I began to spin out of control. I began to spin out of control on every emotional level that you could possibly even fathom, right? My boss even asked me what date it was and the day, and I couldn't tell her. My spouse that I was with for 28 years walked in and ordered something in front of me at my counter, and I didn't even recognize him. My emotions were all over the place, and you go into what's called the dark night of the soul, and it's an untanglement. It's an untanglement and the releasing of all of the emotional, psychological, physical, and spiritual traumas, injuries that you've gone through. Which brings me to question 3. People say, if I take out your brain, can I see a box that has what is it? Will I find a box that stores memories? No. There's not a box in your brain that stores anything. There's compartments or lobes of the brain. In medical terms, they're called lobes, and each lobe has a primary function. There's a Broca center that stores memory. That stores recall memory. So if I say to you, do you remember your wedding? You're going to think for a second, and you're going to recall it, and you're going to bring up that memory. Okay, it's a memory center, not a storage center. The storage of memory is stored in the cells, deep interwoven into the cells. I've been in the medical field for a very long time. I know biology and I know anatomy and physiology. I've done lots of autopsies. I've been part of them. I've done animals, dogs to humans. I've looked and addressed and seen what lobes and organs and cells of the brain and kidneys and liver and cells all look like in my training. The average layman person does not know there's a overturning of every cell in your body every 30 days. And what that overturning means is that that cell that's in your body dies completely, and it retranscribes itself, recreates itself, splits off, and does its job. And every 30 days that occurs. So the cell never leaves. It's just the cytoplasm that splits again, right? And so there's transcription that's stored in the cells. So ask yourself, what transcription am I feeding the cells? If I don't have the same cells I had when I was a newborn, because can you remember being a newborn? You can't. That's why. Because your cells overturn every 30 days, and that's why you can't find memory in a box or in a cell. They overturn every 30 days. But if I ask you, can you remember who taught you how to tie your shoe? Or can you remember taking the training wheels off your bike? Do you remember going to kindergarten? You're going to call up a memory, right? And because every 30 days your cells overturn, you don't have the same cells you had in your body yesterday. And you won't have the same cells in your body tomorrow. So if you're training your cells, an illusion of the mind, right? Because sickness begins in the mind. Okay. And sickness is a sin. And sickness is of the mind. Why is it of the mind? My mom had this. She did this. She passed away of this. My sister had it. My brother had it. I'm doomed to have it. I have no option. Mitosis, yes. I have no option, right? So it's no different than getting up in the morning and pushing the program number you have in your iPhone to open it up. You just push autoplay and you play the tape and you run on that tape. I call her the Judy Jetsons. I like that name. I'm not laughing at you because I got pissed off at Eckhart for laughing. So don't get mad at me for laughing. Yes, it's mitosis. Yes. And people don't know that. The average layman doesn't know that. And the average layman doesn't know that the sickness begins in the mind. And so the sickness that lies in the body begins in the mind. So there's question 3. So each phase of the awakening can last however long you resist. Some say they last for X amount of months. Some say they last for X amount of years. Some say it takes this long. Some say it don't. Eckhart Tolle said it took him 8 years to integrate it. I don't know. I've never heard anybody else tell me how long they've been, and I only heard that on tape, so I don't know how much longer. I think I heard Christine Lopez say, I want to say she said 4 years or 5 years, maybe even 7. I'm not 100% correct, but I'll leave a link down to her channel too. But none of those people are where I can reach them, right? None of those people are where they can help me. None of those people were where they could assist me, and there was a reason for that. Because God doesn't place upon us more than we can handle, and we have everything we need within. And we don't need any assistance. We may need guidance, which I obtained. Yes. When action was required, I took it. But this is after the fact, all after the fact. So the second stage is you're going to begin to fucking spin out of control, and nothing's going to make sense to you. Everything's going to be a lie. You're going to feel paranoid. You're going to hate everyone. You're not going to trust anything. You're not going to trust anyone. You're going to block their numbers. You're going to destroy their shit. You're going to send it back. You're going to say crappy stuff. You're going to do all those things. None of it's mine. None of it was mine. Mine stored in the cells. My energy trapped, stored energy trapped, not the cell. Energy, painful energy, trauma energy, wounds, fear, anxiety, depression, worthlessness, all those things we feel. All those things we experienced and were never heard or no one saw us. All I ever wanted was someone to love me. That's all I ever wanted. That's it. I didn't want big cars. I didn't want big fancy houses. I didn't want big fancy bank accounts. I just wanted someone to love me so desperately that I forgot how to love myself. And that was one of my own problems. How could I love another if I didn't love myself? I couldn't. I wouldn't be capable. That's the duality. That's the conundrum of a spiritual awakening. So you're going to spin out of control. If it happens, know that it's okay if you spin out of control. Allow the process to happen. I could tell you some stories, maybe about surrounding a campfire somewhere sometime. When you give me a couple bottles of beer, I could maybe tell you some hellacious stories of me on the floor with, praying to God to take me. So I get it. I understand. And that's why I'm doing the videos, because if I can help one person and they say, oh, I remember her, she said that, I'm going to go email her because she could tell me what to do. She can help me. And so that's why Eckhart went before me. That's why these other spiritual teachers went before me to teach me, and someone will come after me. Someone has there are many spiritual teachers on many levels. Everyone is a teacher of Christ. Everyone. And so let me look back at my list because I made it go all floppy all over. Okay, where am I? Okay, now that I told you that, I want to tell you I'm telling you about the sickness. So I'm not going to answer any more questions on that right now. I'm going to tell you about the sickness, and I'm going to try to make you understand, okay? Sickness begins in the brain, okay? The brain controls the body. It's not the other way around. Individuals that are, and when I say these things, please understand and note that I have no judgment. No reciprocity. I'm only giving the facts to you out in the medical terminology world, okay? Your body is an immaculate machine. It's no different than the Mac that I'm on right now. The central nervous system is it's the controller, and the frontal lobe of our brain, which is located here, right, is the executor. He's the driver of the ship, of the car, of the whatever, okay? And the vehicle you're driving is you, your body, your form that you're in, okay? The right and the left hemisphere, if they can't get proper direction and organization from the frontal lobe, the right and the left hemispheres cannot do their jobs by speaking to the central nervous system and the frontal lobe, right? So here's what happens. The central nervous system is organized to make sense out of chaos. Like that freeway structure I was telling you that's whizzing by your head, right? Think of your central nervous system as that infrastructure that you call in, okay? If you have all this chaos going on, what do you have to to regulate that chaos? Well, in the real world, on the streets, and when we run red lights, we have the police department, the fire department, and all those things, right? But when you have that kind of chaos going in your brain, chaos going on, mental chatter, commentary, you shut the central nervous system down because the frontal lobe cannot function to notify the central nervous system that you have a parasympathetic and a sympathetic system. The parasympathetic is what's happening when people are slumbering. They're working on a fight flight mode because the pattern of mental chatter they're telling them causes a biofeedback loop on itself. It promotes an emotion. The emotion produces a hormone from the pituitary gland and tells the parasympathetic, not the sympathetic, the parasympathetic to go into fight flight mode. That's like running the emergency light on the fire department nonstop 24/7 and you never turn it off. When does the sympathetic system ever get an opportunity to come in and calm down the infrastructure? It doesn't. It can't because it's blocked. So the central nervous system is there, and it is there to organize this chaos and stillness, and to organize it into a way in which you see the world today, right? How you see yourself, right? I mean, if you go, how do I say that? I know some of you have probably heard quantum physics, right? It's not for everybody, or quantum psychology. It's not for everybody, right? It's not for everybody. It's not a quick fix. It's not a cure all. It's not, because nothing is guaranteed in the universe. That's why quantum physics isn't guaranteed, right? But your central nervous system, it can't call in the infrastructure. It can't call in the infrastructure to calm down your chaos, and you're running on chaos all the time. Now, if you're running on that chaos all the time, what's happening is that hormone's producing something that's causing what we call a dis in your body, which causes a dis-ease. And now you have a rash that's manifested. You have anxiety that's manifested. You have depression that's manifested. You have worthlessness that's manifested. You have loneliness or whatever manifests itself. But you're going to say, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why I have this, because the sickness is in the mind and you created it and you just don't know it. So I'm going to tell you. So I'm going to give you the dimmer switch and how to dim that shit down, right? Because there's a dimmer switch. And I've told you your thalamus is here. If you do the tapping exercises I told you guys about under Cracked Wide Open, release some of the stuck energy in your body and allow the central nervous system to call in the infrastructure when it's needed, because you're running on fight flight. What's going to happen when you cause disease in your body? You're going to deteriorate. You're going to deteriorate because there's momentum of commentary and thought in the mind, which causes momentum and deterioration in the body. Why do you think? And no, I don't want to say it that way. Why do you think people who have awoken, they don't look the same? You'll see them and they don't look the same. You did? See, that's an idiosyncrasy, Amy. You were meant to see it. You're only meant to see it when the student's ready, and you were ready, Amy. That's what we talked about in question 1, you know? So I want to give you some modalities to use on how to calm down the central nervous system, okay? And they're self-taught. They're very simple. You don't have to even think about it. The first one I teach in transcendental meditation, and it's called pranayama breathing. If you take Don't take any stick or anything and stuff it up your nose, please. Just put your thumb over one nostril. My nose is clogged. Hear that? And take a deep breath out of one nostril and let it out. Switch. I'm not doing that one because it's stuffed. And you do each one for 2 minutes twice a day, and it will calm down the central nervous system and bring it back to homeostasis. It's called pranayama breathing. You can use your finger or you can push your nostril if that's easier for you. You can do the tapping videos that I showed you. They're easy to do, self-taught. You can do them in the shower. You can start at the top. You can do the separating of the skull. You can do these. Your nose is the same. And then bring it all down to your body. Remember that the body in the back has an optic chiasma, and that's why the right brain controls the left side of your body, and it crosses like this. That's why when I had my awakening, there was a cross on my third eye, and now it looks like a heart or a butterfly. I don't know which. I get told different things on different days. It's weird. So you can do the tapping here and here and here and here, and then the K29, come down to that and release all of the lymph nodes by massaging out, and then tap your thalamus. And I can put up some other ones, but that would take like maybe 3 minutes in your shower when you take a shower. Find something that it's a hard one, Spirit. I don't want to say that because I was listening to some people don't like music, some people don't like ticking watches, right? So find something that you resonate with that gives you that Zen place, right? Because Zen is consciousness, right? And you've probably experienced it before, and I'll give you an example of how I know you've experienced it before I leave you. It's so funny. I forget what I'm saying when I'm saying it because I don't have a thought in my head. You know, when you wake up in the morning and you're like standing at your coffee and you're just like not quite awoken yet from the slumber, you just climbed out of your bed and just pushed the auto on your coffee pot. You're just kind of there. That's as close to consciousness that you're at. Or you can place your hands together and close your eyes and ask yourself, can I feel the energy between my palms? And if you can, ask yourself, if the energy is between my palms, that means it's somewhere else, isn't it? Physics tells us that mass is 99% for dead space and the rest particles, right? You have 700 trillion cells in your body, and you have mitosis and turnover and cell reproduction and transcription going on every 30 days. So if you're transcribing new transcription to your cells, they will listen to you because the mind runs the body doesn't run the mind. Okay. So what I do is, and it's really simple, and you're probably going. People think I'm asking them to move mountains. I swear. I swear. You're in your room, going to bed. No one's there with you. Close your eyes. Don't say a word out loud or mumble anything in your mouth. Think something in your mind. Positive. Imagine a place you want to be. Imagine a place you want to be in 2 days. Don't take giant leaps, baby steps. Or even say, What do I want that I don't have? What can I do for myself to give it to myself? Because if you don't have something, it's because you haven't given it away. And everything I have is on loan. That's how I look at it. Nothing I have is firsthand bought. My Mac, that's it, only because of the damn social media and everybody's saying I have to have the fastest the computer, and it's not even the fastest. It's the shittiest, I think. But it's just an opinion, right? And I'm entitled to that. The closest thing you can do is go outside if you're unconscious. You can't be grounded unless you're grounded in consciousness, contrary to what the people say on videos on YouTube. To be grounded, you must be in consciousness, then you're already grounded. You can earth yourself. Go outside, get in the soil, get in the grass, stand there, walk your dog, take your sandals off when you walk your kitty or dog out there at the dog park. And in 10 minutes, you come back to homeostasis. Do the pranayama breathing, do the tapping. Find one thing that resonates with you. If it's working under the hood of a car that gives you that peace, sitting in your chair with just some jazz or some Beethoven playing in your headphones, whatever it is, a hot bath with candles, a walk on the beach, it doesn't make any difference. These are just openings into consciousness. And once you find consciousness, it's like me, people say, how much are you meditating? In the beginning, I meditated a very long time. I don't hardly meditate at all now because most 100% of the time I'm in consciousness. And so I do the action that's required of me to show grace and gratitude to the creators who's given me such gracious gifts, right? I become the teacher of consciousness and I give it away for free and I show others the way. I point the finger. I'm not changing anyone's opinion, belief systems, thought patterns, or anything. I'm just giving you pointers. And, those that want to take them are the students that are ready to hear the teacher, and those that don't, they're not ready to hear the teacher yet. And that's okay. Nothing is good, bad, or indifferent. It's only what the mind says is so. So try doing some tapping exercises, try doing some things that you can do. I'm going to talk about, false core and some other things and healing benefits, and I'm going to open up some other things, but um I'll leave it at those modalities. And the best thing you can do, I think personally, and I don't give up this, and I don't miss a day. What are you really grateful for? I mean, if you write down, I'm grateful for my dog and my kid and my job. Because when I had a spiritual awakening, the word gratitude and the word humble, they did not have the meaning that are defined in the Webster Dictionary anymore to me. They mean something much more profound than Webster defines them as. So, what are you really grateful for? And be in a place of gratitude. My hair is giving vibes. Thank you. 99 cents. My hair is giving vibes. Does anybody have any questions before I go or do anything more? I'm not going to talk anymore about this. If you have any questions, I'm going to leave it open for a minute. I appreciate you guys so much for stopping by. I'm going to put Mr. Tolle's link up. I would like to put up another link of see, I don't have a thought in my damn head. I think it's Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dyer and Eckhart Tolle, and they're at a conference, and they're. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Tina Robinson. Good vibes to you. I want to put a link for that show as well. It's very profound, and it will lead to what I'm saying. I also want to post a link on the Course in Miracles. Marion teaches a beautiful course, Course in Miracles. Course in Miracles takes a whole year to do. So don't undergo that endeavor. If you're not prepared to undergo that endeavor, don't put more on yourself than you can handle, right? We are the ones that pile the shit on top of us, not consciousness, right? We made a conscious choice, and when we made a choice, this decision was made for us to carry those burdens. Put the burdens down. It's time. Love meeting you too, Amy. Love meeting you. So if anyone has any questions, please don't hesitate, because it's your higher self asking the question or wanting the answer to the question that you are fearing as a slumbering person to ask, because you feel someone's going to shame you. There's no shame, or there is no guilt. There's no higher. There's no lower. There's no different anything here. You are the light of consciousness. It says it in the Bible. Christ says, I am the light of God. And Christ says he is the light of God. I value you too, darling. You're so appreciated. You're so appreciated. Without you, I couldn't do this, and I couldn't give it away. I cannot be a receiver if I am not a giver, and I cannot be a giver if I'm not a receiver. So it's a duality of life. It's hard and it's difficult. So please email me if you have questions. Reach out to a girl. I'm just beginning my spiritual teaching journey, and so I'm writing, and I'm still going through the process. I've integrated pretty much most of what took Eckhart Tolle to close this 8 years to integrate. But you have to stop and think, at the time that he had his awakening, the resources were much graver and much slimmer than they are and were to me. And so the time is of the essence of learning. Peace, darling. He and Deepak Chopra and Gabrielle Bernstein and Michael Sanger are spiritual teachers and leaders in their communities, in their counties where they live. And I believe some of them even go worldwide. And so I want to give a big shout out to those spiritual teachers that have gone before me, because they've allowed me to assist myself in integrating what's happened to me on a much quicker response, because our universe is changing. Changing rapidly. Just look around since 2020, and tomorrow is the big astrology shift. So be prepared to 2222. The twos are not coincidence. That's an idiosyncrasy. And this lineup doesn't happen in some 1800 years. And you'll repeat a 28.8 year cycle if you miss this window. And people say, oh, are you missing the window? No, you can't miss an opportunity, because another one will come around. It just meant you weren't ready for the one that you just had. That's all it means. It's like someone will say, oh, I'm richer than you. No, it just means you have more money than me. And they're talking about a dollar. I'm talking about abundance. It's a duality. So please leave an email or a message and sound off in the comment section below. I don't know at all. Hi, Twisted. How you doing, darling? I miss you too. And if you have anything that you want to add to the pot, and if you are spiritually awakened, I want to challenge you to band together. Reach out to me on an email, because God says where one or two are gathered, there he is in the midst. I am the student, I am the teacher, I am learning, and I am teaching. So there are two in the midst. So God is here. And so I'm challenging you to reach out to me. I've reached out to you. We band together on a community of YouTube. We have a greater power for the collective, and we can send out some very massive energy, very, very beautiful energy. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I would be oh so excited to do that. So excited. So I love you guys so, so much. My birthday's coming up on a personal note, and I may be taking a little respite, because of all the phases I've gone through. I'm in the respite phase where I am integrated, understanding, acknowledging, accepting, and surrendered with complete surrenderment. I have very little residual that comes up in the emotional pain body anymore. And when it does, it's very, very short lived. And it's going to be 3 years next month. And so I think I've done a tremendous job in integrating this. And I could not have done this without the spiritual teachers or gurus or Maharashi or anyone that's taught me about transcendental meditation. I mean, I don't want to give out all the names, but you know? They're such beautiful sentinel beings, and it's we don't do this alone, you guys. We do it together. And so I challenge you, if you are looking to do something to band together and do a live and talk about your story and what you're going through and share it. I would think the community would love to hear that. And I certainly would love to hear that because I'm a student too. And maybe there's something that I need to learn from you. And so don't deceive yourself of that. To deceive yourself is to sin, and to sin is to miss the mark. And you're the only one that's suffering from that, not I, and not spirit. You have free will. God has given you free will. And He says, go, my child, right? Thank you so much for stopping in. I really appreciate you guys again. Trying to close all these windows. Why are all these windows open? Have no idea. Thank you again for stopping in, Amy, Tina, and 99, and everybody else. I can't list off everybody else, but I really do appreciate it. Please share the content of Cracked Wide Open. Those that want to see the content, watch it. Those that don't, no worries. If you want to see the other videos that I have as hobbies, I'll be doing uploads on those as well. I love you guys so, so much. I'm sending out positive vibes and energy to you. Namaste. Thank you so much, darling. I appreciate that. You're my first birthday wish. Mm, I find that very special. Thank you so much, darling. Thank you. Namaste, everybody. See you soon.